I'm muted. I'm back. I'm back. Um, where were we? Did I return the title screen in the same person? Junpei continued talking as he closed the notebook and slipped it back into his
So I'm gonna
pocket.
go down and check it out. You stay here, all right?
Um, but
Come on, just do it, all right?
Gave Jun's shoulder a reassuring squeeze and hopped into the elevator. Pushed the E button and the door began to close. June looked worried, her eyes darting back and forth as if she was trying to make a decision when suddenly she
I'm
jumps
coming
in.
with you.
Huh?
Last possible moment, June dashed forward, turning sideways just in time to slip through the gap between the closing doors. Okay, it's definitely an old ship. No, the elevator doesn't automatically open back up again.
Hey, wait!
Junpei jammed his finger against the open button, but it was too late. I
Crap,
didn't know
it closed.
we were leaving here anyway. Door had shut. He and June were in the elevator and it was headed down to E deck. He was so surprised by June that he didn't even have time to think about what awaited him on E
I
deck.
can't just let you go alone, you know.
Ah, jeez.
The elevator stopped and the door slid open. They tentatively stepped out and looked around.
It looks normal.
No fish going about their fishy business, or jellyfish floating lazily through the water. There was, however, a blowfish, or at least something that looked very much like one. June's cheeks were puffed out and her mouth a tiny, intense frown.
Oh, knock it off. It's just like I thought. This part hasn't flooded. Come on, just look around. There's no water here.
June looked around nervously then. You have eyeballs.
You're right. It's not flooded at all.
See?
But there's a whole lot of water.
Yeah, right on top of us.
What's gonna happen if the ceiling breaks?
Junpei thought about that for a
We'll
moment.
probably die.
Oh no. Don't be so casual about something like that.
At any rate, we should probably go back as soon as we can, once we're done looking around down here. Lotus and Santa might already be back.
Lotus and
Okay,
Santa.
good idea.
Now then.
Junpei glanced around the room they found themselves in. First thing he noticed was a set of thick iron doors. They ran the length of the room, separating the left elevator from the right
Iron
one.
Bars. Well, we can't go over there.
Right.
Then maybe.
In the corner of the room that housed the elevators, Junpei found an opening. He walked up to it and stuck his head around the corner.
It looks like there's a long straight hallway down this way.
Something's written on the door at the end. Wait, is that?
You need your eyes checked, Junpei. Junpei and June set off down the hallway at a brisk clip, somewhere between a run and a jog. Before long, they found themselves in front of the door. On it was a number written in bright red paint.
I knew it!
This is a numbered door.
And indeed, there was a red bolted to the wall next to the door.
But we can't do anything with only the two of us.
We better head back and let everyone know.
Yes.
Yes. Junpei and June turned and headed back to C deck.
Wait, what's this?
On the way back, Junpei noticed a map on the wall.
Is this the map for E-Deck? I should take it with me. Huh, so you guys found door 1.
Met back up with Santa and Lotus, who had explained what they had found. Apparently, there was another numbered door in A deck, just like the one in E deck, beyond that door that the Earth key opened. According to Santa and Lotus, there was a 1 on the door.
So now we've located 2 new doors. The 6 door and the 1 door.
You know, it is interesting that E-Deck wasn't flooded.
Lotus was quiet for a moment, lost in thought.
Well, we don't really know if all of E-Deck is safe. We only checked the area around the elevator.
Yeah, even so, it's still very interesting.
You said the 6th door was there, right?
Yes.
And that means Zero planned all this out, even the sinking. That would have meant some pretty serious remodeling of the ship's interior.
It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah. I wonder how long it took. I can't even imagine how much it must have cost.
Meanwhile, Zero was like, oh, come on.
Would have been a ton, that's for sure.
Well, that does go along with what Ace was saying. The most reasonable explanation would be that this was done by some organization with access to a whole lot of cash.
Yes, it does make sense.
The thought made them all go quiet for a moment. Her. June bit her lip while Lotus sighed softly to herself, and Santa cracked its stiff neck and stared off in the distance at nothing.
Yeah?
I don't think it's a very good idea to stay here.
June looked up at Junpei with large, pleading eyes.
You're right. Ace and his team might be back already.
Well, Junpei and I should be able to open door 1.
Huh? You guys leaving me behind?
8 plus 6 plus 5 equals 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1.
Just kidding. All right, let's go.
Lotus's words were all the impetus they needed, sorry. Back to the large hospital room they went. Book mail. The moment they stepped inside, a tremendous voice echoed across the room.
Hey! Where the hell did you guys go?
It was 7? Ace was right behind him, and Clover wasn't behind Ace, although they seemed to be hanging back.
What's wrong?
It was as though there was something strange about them. 7 had the look of a man who'd seen a ghost. Ace was just as pale, and Clover looked as though she was only moments from passing out entirely. Simply stood there looking at one another. Junpei looked around nervously, waiting for someone else to speak. No one did. He looked at 7.
What happened?
What the hell kind of question is that?
7 was trying very hard to be angry, but something had shaken him hard. Shoulders were trembling, and his voice was strained.
Snake is...
7 couldn't finish. Looked away, his face twisted by Junpei. Junpei wasn't sure what. Ace spoke, took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and spoke.
Snake is dead. He died, just as the 9th man did.
It was as if all air had suddenly been sucked out of the room. Junpei felt his heartbeat quicken, and he realized he was having trouble breathing. Could feel a cold sweat beating on his forehead and neck. June, Santa, and Lotus looked the way he felt. All 3 were frozen in place, their faces white.
God, that's not true, is it?
We should make sure.
Yeah, right. We should.
But nodded to one another and headed for the number 3 door.
Not that way.
What? What?
Stopped short and turned to look at 7. Pointing at the door, no number.
I stuck a screwdriver in there to keep the door from closing all the way. It's not locked, so you can go in that way.
Where is he?
Right, you got a map?
Shower room. The left side of the hallway. I put a broom in there too to keep the door open.
That means we can get in without going through the numbered door, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Then let's go.
Destination clear, Junpei and his companions headed for the door, no number. Once in the hallway, it was easy to spot the metal door on the left wall.
When we passed here before.
But now, just as 7 had said, there was a broom stuck between the door and the frame,
Well,
keeping it open.
Let's keep going.
Looked at it for a moment and stepped inside.
Oh, it smells horrible.
Lotus wrinkled her nose and covered her mouth in disgust. Even Santa pitched his nose shut.
Ugh, yeah, this is pretty awful. I feel like I'm gonna puke.
Just as bad as they said, perhaps worse. Hideous smell filled the air, so thick that I could almost taste it. It was sour and smelled of fish, feces, and burnt meat. IRL. It worked its way through Junpei's nose and down his throat, to pound against the entrance to his stomach. He put his hands over his mouth and struggled to keep what little was in his stomach where it belonged.
Where is he? Where's Snake?
LLR. Didn't have to wonder where the body was. There was blood everywhere, a few arms at the splatter, reaching towards them as they walked in through the door. All one had to do was follow the many radial arms to their source. The body itself was hidden behind a divider.
You should stay here.
But...
Please, just do me a favor, okay? Alright?
He didn't give her a chance to say no. He put his hand on her shoulder as if to shove her to the ground like a tent pole, turned, and walked towards the end of the divider.
I'm going in.
Felt like it took an eternity for him to get there. Santa and Lotus followed, timid and nervous as a pair of children. Eventually, they reached the divider. They looked at one another and nodded slowly. Jumpy put his hands on the divider and peered around the corner. For a moment, he forgot to breathe. He felt his heart collapse in his chest like an empty cigarette carton, and time froze. He knew in that instant that he would take the image before him to the grave. Oil lifted the body, sat in the sea of blood. Chunks of flesh torn from the body sat in the blood like tiny islands in the great Red Sea. A vast ragged hole had been torn in the torso, and what remains of his intestines spilled out of it like fresh spaghetti. Smaller chunks of meat had splattered against the wall and became stuck there as they dried. Globules of yellowish fat had left trails like tiny slugs, and gravity pulled them down to the wall, even as they dried to it. Santa's voice was strained. Junpei suspected he was holding down some vomit of his own.
Just like the ninth man. The detonator in his bracelet set off the bomb in his gut.
It was as though the explosion had been quite powerful.
Oh god. The bone is coming out of his left arm.
It's definitely an open fracture.
Legs were both bent in an odd, unnatural way, and his left arm had split open, exposing the painfully white bone of his ulna. His bracelet lay next to him. It seemed to have hit the wall hard enough to have shattered out the display, which lay on the ground in pieces.
Face. It's horrible.
Yeah, you can't even tell who it is.
Half of his head had simply collapsed. Blood coating almost made it look like a raw pizza dough covered in tomato sauce. Clothes, too, were covered in blood. Burgundy tie, the white shirt, the jacket with the yellow piping, and the gray slacks.
But the clothes are...
They were all familiar to Junpei.
No mistake about it. It's Snake.
Lotus's voice was unnaturally deep and strained, and Junpei heard a catch in her throat. The squeal of the tortured metal made Junpei's teeth curl, kind of like the noise a ghost would make. No matter how many times he heard it, and he never got used to it. Every time it put him on edge. It didn't help that there was a girl nearby who looked far more like a ghost than a living human stood. It was Clover. Sat on the edge of the bed, her head drooping listlessly onto her chest. Her eyes were blank and stared across the room at nothing. Her breathing was slow and mechanical. Aside from the rise and fall of her chest, she didn't move. Junpei felt as if even a nudge might cause her to shatter into 1,000 pieces.
Snake was probably murdered. Chances are he was killed the same way the ninth man was.
Seven lowered his voice slightly in an effort to keep Clover from hearing what he had to say. There were 4 of the people in the room with Junpei and Seven. Ace, Santa, June, and Lotus. Seven looked at each of them in turn, and continued.
It's pretty straightforward. Not that hard to figure out how they did it. First, the killers got Snake to authenticate on the red to open door 3. Then they shoved him into it. And waited 9 seconds for the door to shut. Once that door shut, it was all over for Snake. But he didn't give up. He probably knew it wouldn't do him any good, but he probably ran into the shower room looking for the dead.
And he wrote L and R on the door. So Lotus and who? But it can't be Lotus, right? Because she was with us the entire time. And who the heck is R? Clover's real name?
It was a small chance, but it wasn't like he had anything to lose. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The detonator is only deactivated if everybody who authenticated when they went in uses the dead. Snake was the only one who went through the door. And then, 81 seconds after he was shoved in, that happened.
I see. So that's what you meant by killers, huh? You need at least 3 people to open one of the numbered doors, including Snake.
Well, it was a 3. And the one was Lotus. What the heck? Lotus is 8. So 2, 8. It was a 3-door, right? So, is that even possible? You have to get to 12 to open up a 3-door. If it's even Lotus. Let's see if there was more than... Let's see went over, but that would be like, it would be more people required. So... We only saw 2 on the splash screen, so I'm only gonna imagine it wasn't Lotus then. I don't see it being anybody from our team anyway. I do forget when he went missing though, because this was like yesterday. I don't really remember. No, it was when everyone walked away for an hour, right? To go check the rooms. So, I mean, how many combinations can open? How many combinations of 2? Or pretty much how much combinations of the people remaining alive can get to 10, right? Because Snake is by default one of them, so that would be 2. You just need 10 more points. And it wasn't us, I believe. You never know with this game. Can't be Lotus. 7 and Santa could be them. Then it'd be June and Clover. That's pretty much all you can do, right? There's only ever 2.
It wouldn't open for Snake and a single killer.
Yeah. That means we're looking at multiple perps here.
Junpei crossed his arms and
Well,
grunted.
just in case, I want to make sure. Let's say you're right. When do you think Snake was killed?
When we all split up to look for the parts for the Reds, I think. Right after that was when we noticed he was gone.
Then that means none of us have alibis. We were all off searching the rooms we'd been assigned, looking for those parts.
Yeah. That means anybody could be a killer.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
June seems shocked.
How can you say that so casually? You're implying that one of us is a killer.
2 of us. Or one of us in that group.
Well, not just one of us. If I'm right, then at least 2 of us are murderers.
Why don't you calm down a bit, Seven? What are you going to gain by being so suspicious? That's what Zero wants, you know?
What Zero wants?
Exactly. This game was set up by Zero, wasn't it? Any game has a winner and loser. Whoever makes it through door 9 is a winner, and those who don't are the losers. Zero is trying to make us fight against one another for that victory.
Then you're saying that Zero is trying to split us up by making us fight each other?
Yes, that is why we can't let ourselves fall prey to suspicion.
No, I'm a firm believer that it's 2 other people. Since the pictures show 2.
We have to trust
So?
one another and form a strong bond of friendship. Otherwise, we'll end up ensnared by Zero's manipulations.
Then does that mean that the person who killed Snake...
Yes, almost certainly Zero himself. If there's anyone we should doubt, it should be Zero. He masterminded this game and kidnapped all of us. Doesn't it seem reasonable that he would have killed Snake as well?
Good question.
Junpei hadn't really considered that.
If Zero killed Snake, then Zero is on the ship with us.
Junpei? Was Zero still on the ship with them? He wasn't sure.
Something's still strange.
What was that?
Well, I'm just wondering about one thing.
And what's that?
How can you be so sure that Zero's on this ship?
His eyebrow shut up.
Really, Junpei? I confess I'm a little disappointed. Usually you're rather sharp. Isn't it obvious?
I kind of forgot everything that happened yesterday.
Wait, it is?
This ship.
Huh?
Zero said, "this ship," several times when he addressed us.
It doesn't mean anything. I mean, once a captain, always a captain, right? You step off your vessel, you don't just go, oh, I'm not a captain anymore.
If he weren't here, he wouldn't say "this ship," would he?
Yes, he would.
He'd be saying something like "that ship" or "the ship."
Oh, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
I don't think so, man. His explanation made perfect sense. Junpei felt a little foolish that he hadn't seen himself. I mean, if you want to be like that, sure. Personally, I still think if you're speaking to them on the intercoms or whatever, just remotely, I would still say this ship. Still, he was left with a question, and it was one
If
of no small
Zero's on the
importance.
ship, where is he?
Suddenly, everyone went very quiet. Silence was cold and clammy, and Junpei could feel crawling across his back and around his throat. Again, he heard the ghosting moans and noise. Moments later, a person who looked more ghost than human appeared. It was Clover. With the floor, she spoke, and her voice was a cold monotone.
I think Zero is one of us.
Every human body in the room froze. The only sound was the muffled rustling of breath. Eyes darted from the face to face. One of those faces was the face of their jailer. But who? Was one of them?
Well, that's possible.
Huh?
Like Clover said, Zero might be one of us.
What are you saying, Jumpy? Didn't you hear what Ace said?
Exactly. I said we shouldn't suspect one another for no reason.
No reason. I've got a great reason.
And what's that?
The bracelets.
Oh, that's his left
Why are
arm.
the bombs in our bodies connected to the bracelets? You're all thinking Zero's hiding somewhere watching us, right? If he's doing that, then he could just detonate the bombs by remote control if someone did something they weren't supposed to. It would be a lot more precise and a lot easier. But if that's the case, then why is the bomb set off by the detonator in the bracelet?
You got a point.
I'm not done. Try applying the same ideas to the Nonary game. All of the puzzles here run all by themselves. In other words, Zero doesn't have to be controlling them for the game to move forward. Why's that? Why would Zero bother to do something like that?
Junpei let the question hang in the air and looked at the others. It was Santa who
Let's
answered.
say you and Clover are right. Zero's one of us. If that's the case, then it'd be really hard for him to keep track of all of us or control anything remotely. That's why all the puzzles run by themselves. That's what you're getting at, right?
Yeah.
Junpei
Seven,
nodded.
when we were talking earlier, you said any one of us could be Snake's killer, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Alright then. I've got a question for you, Ace. You said something like Zero must be the one who killed Snake, right?
Yes, something like that. I can't think of any other explanation.
So what do we get if we combine those? They fit together pretty well, I think. Something like this. Whoever killed Snake is Zero. Hence, Zero is one of us. Seven and Ace's theories aren't mutually exclusive. They actually complement each other pretty well. At least they do if Zero is one of us.
No one spoke. Faces were grim, but Junpei wasn't sure if they believed him or not. Finally, Lotus spoke up.
What were his motives?
His motives?
Yes, isn't that pretty important? Why would Zero want to hide as one of us?
Oh, well, that's because...
Junpei choked. He hadn't thought of that, and he had to be honest with himself. He had no idea.
don't know.
With a
So
sigh.
much for making a persuasive argument, Junpei.
In other words,
Got him.
you only had circumstantial evidence.
I don't really think that's enough to go on, you know?
Ah,
Junpei was painfully aware of their eyes on him and their disapproval. Tried to find something else, anything else. My coaster just fall? It did just fall. There you go. Then in the horrible silence. 4 more hours? They heard the bell begin to ring. It was the clock at the central staircase.
It's 3 in the morning.
That means we have 3 hours left.
Then we need to move now. Seven, Clover, Junpei. I know how you feel, but you do understand that right now it's important we trust one another, don't you?
you're right, but...
Junpei couldn't bring himself to respond. But all the words he wanted to say inside. Seven and Clover remained similarly silent. Eyes were looking at something somewhere else,
We
very
must
far
go.
away.
We have very little time left.
Ace's words put their feet to moving. They all knew where the killer was going.
Our next destination is Mercury.
I find the most likely
Maybe
person
you
to
and June
be...
should check it out first and then report back to us.
Okay. If it was 2, I still feel like it's Clover and June.
All right, let's go, June.
Right.
Whose name I keep forgetting. I'm just gonna keep Akane?
Here it is.
June's much easier for me being American. It's sat bolted to the wall near the stairs that led to the casino and the kitchen between the 2 elevators.
The Mercury card reader.
We're using the card 7 gave us, right?
Yeah,
I found it when we were checking out the shower room.
I think 7 said something like that. Anyway, let's see what happens.
Junpei slid the card through the reader. Light on the reader turned green and made a tiny electronic noise.
I guess the elevator works now.
Jumpy, I know it's only the 2 of us, but let's do our best.
What's with you all of a sudden?
Well, I'm happy we were put together.
You know it's just for searching E-Deck, right?
Even so, I'm glad I'm with you.
Oh. First, we need to find out if the elevator comes up full of water.
Just like we did before.
Oh, here it is.
I knew it. It's not wet at all.
Let's go.
Yes.
Once it had been checked for water, Junpei and June stepped into the elevator.
Look! Nearly all of the buttons are destroyed.
Yeah, only the seat and bottom button can be pushed.
We're on C deck right now, so the only one we can choose is bottom.
Yeah. Well, let's try it out.
The door closed. Slowly they began to move downward.
Oh, so this is the bottom deck.
They stepped off and saw the hallway to their right, and is somewhere between 20 and 25 feet from them. The hallway in front of them was a dead end. But not a regular dead end.
Over there.
This is a numbered door.
We have a 6, a 1, and a 2.
This is the 8th one we found. There were 2 numbered doors on B deck near the central staircase. They were doors 4 and 5.
So we have 3 doors to choose from. I'm assuming only one leads to the true ending. Or if it's, we might have to get, like, you know, like doing I, get all of the stinking boxes filled in to reveal a hidden path. When the time blends together. Because I watched the intro when you AFK too long with the main menu. It says, why do I know this? It's like, I can see it being a time dilation thing. 3 more in the large hospital room.
7 and 8.
And the door we found on E deck, and the door Lotus and Santa found on A deck. It was a 6 on the door on E deck, and a 1 on the door on A deck.
Mm-hmm. 4, 5, 3, 7, 8, 6, 1. And now door 2.
That means...
Do you think the next door we find?
Yeah, I think so. The next one's gonna be door 9.
Despite himself, Junpei felt excited. Something about the excitement that frightened him as well.
Finally!
Yeah,
You don't look very happy about it, though.
it's not that. I just hope nothing goes wrong.
You're right. We should keep our fingers crossed.
Let's head back.
Okay.
He did his best to put it in front of his mind. Put it from his mind, and he headed back to C-Deck with June.
One, two, three, four. All right, 7 pieces.
Pieces of paper they folded up lay on the ground next to Junpei's legs. Everyone had written on paper pulled from Junpei's notebook in the effort to put it together a
Just
blind
double
vote.
checking, but everyone wrote their code name and a door number they want, right?
Yes, just like you told us earlier.
Can't believe we're voting here.
Why had they decided to vote that way?
We need to make the whole thing fair, blah-de-blah. This is a complicated plan, you know. Hurry it up, Mr. I have a brilliant idea.
Decided it wasn't fair to simply ask everyone at once. That would allow people to force others to go through certain doors.
Yeah, quiet in the peanut gallery.
And he had a plan. There was no plan he wanted anyone catching wind of, however. It is best to act calm as he began to open and read the pieces of
Alright,
paper.
let's open these up. The first one says, Ace requests door 1.
Yes, I do. Would you like me to explain why?
No?
No, we don't have time for that. Sorry. Let's keep going.
Get shut down, Ace. Open the second one.
Santa. He wants door 6.
Yeah, that's what I wrote.
Should we continue with the third, fourth, fifth of the paper?
Clover wants 1, Lotus wants 2, and 7 also wants 2.
Wait a minute. There is no way I'm going anywhere with the Elephant Man.
Excuse you?
There'd be no point to the voting if we let people change their choices because of stuff like that.
But no.
Just give it up, Lotus. It's not like I want to hang out with some exhibitionist grandma.
I am not an exhibitionist. I'm wearing clothes.
But you're a grandma?
Barely.
So I'm taking off my stinking slippers.
So, last I checked, that's not a crime.
Maybe. But what about common decency?
I just figured she was abducted by her during her job.
Nobody wants to have to look at a chick who looks like a half-naked raisin.
Oh, I'm gonna kill you!
Lotus's hair flared out of the mane of an angry lion,
Not good.
and she roared with a voice that shook the walls.
Let go! Let go of me! I'm killing him!
With some difficulty, Ace managed to restrain her.
Junpei, read the rest.
Right.
Junpei tore his eyes away and looked down at the sixth piece of paper. He
June
opened it.
wants door 6.
Yes, I don't really have a reason. I just felt like it.
No one asked. All the papers save Junpei's had been read. Some quick calculations in his head.
So this was everyone's vote. Ace and Clover requested door 1.
This was the door that, on A deck, near the central staircase.
7 and Lotus requested door 2.
This was the door in the bottom deck that could be reached by taking the elevator to the bottom of the ship.
Santa and June requested door 6.
The door in E deck that could be reached by taking an elevator near the central staircase
The
down.
door I should choose is...
Took him less than a second to run the numbers. He opened the seventh piece of paper and
Okay,
spoke.
the last one is mine. I want to go through...
Let's see. So, like, how does this work? Because they're gonna have to split up a team, right? One of the doors. One was Ace and Clover. 2 was Lotus and 7. 6 is Santa and June. So if we go with through door 1, that's Ace and Clover for 5 points. 7 plus us, that's 5. So that is 1. 2 is 7 and 8. So that'll be 15. Plus 5. So that we can't go through 2. Yes, we can. What? Then 6 would be 3 and 6. Santa is 6. 3, sorry. 3 and 6 plus 5. That's 11. We can't do that. Yes, we can. Why'd I get 11? I'm dying here, man. I have a migraine. Excuse me. I mean, we've been kind of gung-ho with June, so let's just stay with June.
I want to go through door 6.
Junpei flipped open the piece of paper. Read Junpei door 6. Of course it did. He'd written it after all.
That's a problem.
She spoke barely above a whisper, but they all knew what she
None of
said.
these teams will be able to go through the doors they want.
Clover and I chose door 1.
Lotus and I chose door 2.
That's not enough people to open a numbered door, however.
Where they cut a door.
Digital routes don't match up either.
We've got similar problems. Junpei and I want to go through door 6, but our digital route is 5. If we're gonna open that door, we need a 1.
Damn, what are we gonna do now?
What are we going to do?
Ace comes with us, and you three split together to go through the other door. I'm not doing the math. Jimmy crossed his arms and did his best to put his thoughts in order. Others followed suit, but with little result. Eventually, Clover broke the silence.
Why don't Seven and Lotus go through door 1 with me?
Her face was cold and flat, as was her voice, but her logic was sound. Seven and Lotus looked at each other. 7 plus 8 plus 4 equals 19. 1 plus 9 equals 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1. First problem is resolved. 8 spoke up.
What about me?
You come
Isn't
with
it
us!
obvious? Wasn't one of the teams just complaining that they didn't have a 1?
You mean I should join Santa's team?
Yes.
Clover nodded, his face still cold and emotionless. I don't want to be anywhere near Clover anyway. Her attitude and posture could not have been more different than the energetic girl of only a few hours before. No one really seemed ready to contradict her. Her response was understandable, given the horrible situation in which she had found herself, but even so, you know, I feel like, actually, going the 6th door might lead us down this path, 2 this path, and 1 this path. But even so,
I understand. I'll go through door 6 then.
but I don't know, because like, they've been leading us towards June this entire time anyway, so I feel like maybe going down June's path is, or June the entire time is the main path.
If we do as Clover has suggested, we can all pass through a numbered door and no one will be left behind. This seems to be the most reasonable solution.
3 plus 6 plus 5 plus 1 equals 15. 1 plus 5 equals 6.
Lotus, what do you guys think?
I don't have a problem with it.
Me either.
All right then, we're good to go.
Did you get mauled by a person with pink hair? Let me know.
See you later.
Wait, Clover! Don't move on your own!
Oh, I'll be going too then.
Yeah, be careful.
Or 7's dead.
We should get going as well.
Alas, Junpei and the other 6 had managed to separate themselves into 2 teams. Clover, 7, and Lotus headed to A deck, where door 1 was near the main staircase. Junpei, June, Ace, and Santa, however, took the elevator to E deck. The ride to E deck was a silent one. The ride.
This is E deck.
There should be a door at the end of the hall.
All right, let's go.
Santa's words jolted them to action as they stepped out of the elevator into a long straight hallway. So this is still the main. I'm just gonna say we stick with June the entire game. Her path is the main path. Before long, they arrived in front of the door. It's only what makes sense to me,
Here it is. You guys ready?
narrative-wise.
Yeah.
Then let's get to it.
One by one, they put their palms over the red. Soft electronic noise is it authenticated each of them. Ding-a-ding. The door opened, and all at once the 4 of them leapt through it.
Hey, I found it. It's right there.
Fortunately, the dead was located easily enough. One had been placed quite close to the door they just entered through, gathered around it quickly and hurriedly placed their palms on it for authentication one by one. Ka-chunk.
It stopped.
Yes, it stopped.
It stopped. The countdown had ceased, but Junpei's heart was still pounding in his chest like a frantic, thunderous drum. Felt as though it might shake itself up and out of his throat.
I don't believe I'll ever get used to that.
I'm not sure it's something I'd want to get used to. We should finish this game before imminent death becomes a normal thing.
You got that right. Once I'm out of this hellhole, I'm taking a nice long vacation.
Oh, that was share gains?
I agree.
With that, the doom and gloom from before was done and the mood turned somewhat
All right,
lighter.
let's go.
With the attempt at good humor, Junpei took a deep breath and began to walk. He jogged down the stairs near the end of the hallway and found himself staring at a large door.
This door looks heavy.
Locked. I'm opening it.
Bro, you sure it's not locked? Took hold of the bar that served as a doorknob and shoved it down. Bro, he's right. That's amazing. The room beyond stopped him in his tracks. Gargantuan and made entirely of metal, None of the accents of wood or tile he's seen in the rest of the ship. The room was purely functional, but utterly tremendous.
Whoa, what the
Well, it's
hell
the
is
engine, right?
this?
Santa got out a few words before all stole the rest of them. The rest were too stunned to offer anything more than gasps.
This has to be the biggest room so far. The ceiling is pretty high, too.
Huh. Could be 2 stories, maybe even more.
This space could be utilizing the entire length of the ship.
What's that huge Kamaboko-looking building in the middle?
Sorry? Kamahuha? Jim pointed to the massive building in the center.
Well, I guess that's as good of a description of it as any.
Hey, Google? Okay, Google. What's a kamaboko? Kamaboko is a type of curd surimi, processed seafood product common in Japanese cuisine. Now you can stop listening. Japanese fish cake with a mild taste. The texture is firm yet soft and rubbery. The fish cakes are made from a minced white fish paste called shirimi, or kane. They're thickened and bound with a starch. They are seasoned with sugar, salt, and MSG. Like a weird bungalow, but it's just a piece of food. Junpei and the others were standing on the scaffolding that crisscrossed the whole area. You're telling me that two 21-year-old kids know that much about Japanese cuisine in late 2008?
I see stairs, so we may as well head over to them.
Yeah, but this section's barely wide enough to fit 1 person.
You're right.
Nearby was a long iron staircase that made its way, eventually to the floor beneath them.
Whoa, you can't even tell the shape when you're this close.
Let's check out the other side, too.
They moved around toward the opposite side of the massive building, following the catwalk. He hadn't said much as they walked, but as they approached the building, he suddenly spoke up.
This looks to be the steam engine room.
The steam engine room?
Yes, that thing that looks like a cross-section of a mushroom is the boiler. Do you see the 3 round doors near the bottom? Coal is put into those and burned, which heats the water, producing steam. The same thing that drives a steam engine. This one is simply somewhat larger.
I see.
It doesn't appear to be running right now.
The entire room was
All
as
right,
silent as a
let's
grave.
split up.
And all of a sudden, Junpei heard a noise behind him. Turned just in time to see June collapse to her knees.
Hey, what's wrong? Are you all right?
Dashed towards her and wrapped his arm around her shoulders to steady her.
Hey, June,
It was then that he
Junpei.
noticed.
you... Oh, you're really warm. Is your fever coming back?
Yes. Yes. It probably is. But I'm fine. Please, don't worry about me. I just need to rest. And I'll be fine.
Her voice was weak and forced, and it said a great deal more than her words did.
Okay, here, sit down. Careful.
Junpei carried her to the nearest wall and propped her up against it. Let her head fall back against the wall, as if she no longer had the strength to support it, and drew a ragged breath.
Thank you.
Her eyes were empty, as if she was having trouble forcing them. Even speaking seemed difficult for her. Junpei felt his hand ball itself into a fist and clenched tight, knuckles whitening. He had to find a way out quickly. Turn and look at Ace and Santa in
Ace,
turn.
Santa.
Yes.
Right.
Might not have shared the depth of his emotion, but certainly shared his
Alright.
concern.
Let's get started. Hang in there, June. I'm gonna get you out of here real soon.
Managed a small nod before leaning back to her to rest her head in the wall. Seek a way out. Steam engine room. Oh no. It's locked. Not locked. It's a square hole. Nothing in here. Look at the back wall there. You can see 3 small slots, terminals for some sort of connector, perhaps. Meaning you think we're supposed to plug something in here? Perhaps. Look at that button. It's glowing orange, right? Gotta mean something. Guess pressing is the best way to find out if it does anything, Santa. Nothing. So this is probably here to move coal from place to place. Probably comes from over here. And then the belt carries it down to the tunnel and out here. So if the conveyor belt was moving, coal would almost certainly come out here. The tunnel goes all the way across the ship. Pillar goes up towards the ceiling. Man, this thing is huge. If the ship is big, needs something something like that to power it. True, but I doubt a single boiler of this size could actually move a ship like this at any reasonable speed. You know, these 3, no 4 of these. Guess you know a lot about boats, huh? Well, not really. It's just common sense, you know. It boomed them. Stairs stretch from the catwalk to the boiler. Number of these little windows along the inside of the thing. I think you're supposed to put coal in through these, but they're welded shut. I don't think we can get those open. Doors built into the near the bottom where you can put coal in. Looks like there's a door over here in the tunnel. Built over there must deliver the coal, which is then picked up and thrown into this door. The door appears to be welded shut, however. Nothing to stop Junpei. Golden gear. Doesn't look like it was always golden like this. Well, then I imagine it was prepared especially for this game. Getting golden gear. I have a feeling it's important. Bronze gear has to be important. Small door inside of the tunnel is welded shut and won't open. Silver gear. Do you think it was made of pure silver? No way. Silver's way too soft to use for a gear. Gotta be steel or iron gear that's been coated with silver. Ooga. Shouldn't have called it silver gear then. Shouldn't have got your hopes up. Were you thinking you'd hold this thing back? Nah, but I think 7 could probably carry it, don't you? Conveyor belt runs into a sort of arc tunnel. Bunch of wooden boxes over here by the wall. I already looked through them. Nothing in there. Let's finish down here first, I guess. What is this? Given this placement, let's unlock the door to the left. Weird indentation on the top of this thing. You think that means you have to insert something here? I would imagine so. A thick iron door blocking the way. You think this is? Yes. Looks like it's the exit. Looks like this door slides up into the ceiling. Look, Ace. Some kind of snowman secret meeting. You just bags full of sand. You use them as a counterweight when you're lifting something with a pulley system. I mean, you're too serious? Pillar like this on the other side. You think, yeah, you're right. Pair of wooden boxes here, there's nothing in them. Three sliders on the left are down, but this one is up. There are a number of lines engraved in them. I suspect we are meant to do something rather specific with them. Junpei, why don't you move the slider down? There's no harm in trying, I suppose. Nothing. Nothing happened. Maybe it needs to be prepared somehow. Saying if we did something somewhere else, it'd respond somehow? Yeah, I suppose that's one way of putting it. Nothing. Thing won't budge. Where we came through when we entered the steam engine room. One of the doors to the furnace, there's an A in it. Circular wheel in the center of the door. Let's give the sucker a twist. Well, it's noisy, but it opens. And it's totally pitch black in there. We should, go in there. Alright. Let's go. It was just like the door we went into. Where are we? The facade, yes. Which would put us directly above the conveyor belt. At any rate, we should keep moving. Great deal. We'd like to investigate. Whole bunch of boxes in my way. Can't get through. The catwalk. I can see some scaffolding on the other wall over there. Anyway, it looks like that's the pipe. I think that's the bottom connects. It looks like the bottom connects to the conveyor belt housing. Coal must come out of the pipe onto the conveyor belt. In other words, there must be a great deal of coal in that pipe. Number of boxes on the catwalk. I don't think we can go over there. Furnace for the enormous boiler. There's B in this door. Supports and braces the side of the ship. It's another ladder. A bunch of boxes blocking the way here. The catwalk. This is a hand-operated winch. It's a simple machine used to lift things up and down. Simply turn the wheel to pull up the rope. Jumpy, why don't you turn the wheel? The wheel? Give this wheel a spin. Oh, what? That's weird. I don't feel any resistance. Ah, oh crap. It's a wheel that seems to be a part of the winch. Some pegs on the back that look like they go into the holes on the winch. Good job, Genius, you broke it. I didn't break it. It broke all by itself. A couple of posts in the back that look like they could fit in the holes in the winch. No good. Little shafts are too small for this big hole. Throwing a hot dog down a hallway, to be honest? If that's the case, then. The wheel wasn't originally part of the winch. And that means... Okay.